welcome back to The Journey. Today we're interviewing Nate Guest. We shouldn't say interviewing, we're just chatting with Nate Guest.
Hi, Kathy.
Hi. And we're so happy to have you here and hear your story. And last night as I was thinking about talking to you today, I thought it'd be fun for me to play a little sort of game at one point. So
Okay.
I'll give you the rules of the game later, but I wanted to catch up with, how long have you been at St. Joseph's? Because I just don't remember.
Yeah, we've been at St. Joe's. Me and my wife moved out here in 2022 to Sykesville. So the church came highly recommended, mostly by my mom. And we've been here ever since, almost 2 years now, parishioners, because we moved here March of 2022.
Okay. And so your parents are parishioners here?
My parents are at St. Bartholomew's, but my mom has worked with Father John before, and she loves Father John. So she's like, you're going to love him as a priest. He's so nice. He's so knowledgeable, well-spoken. So she was very excited when she heard that our parish would be St. Joseph's.
Cool. So you must live nearby, do you?
Yes, we actually only live about 5 minutes away.
Oh, wow.
From the church. So about 20-minute walk, but not really walking that much, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, I'm curious about your own Catholicism. Were you a cradle Catholic? Were you not?
We were. I'm the oldest of 9 kids. So my mother is Catholic. My father is not. Mm-hmm. But and I give my father a lot of credit, said that and promised my mother that he would help raise all of us as Catholics, even though he doesn't practice. So was born and raised Catholic, went to Catholic schools for religious ed. We were homeschooled until high school, and then we went to public school because Mom said, I will prepare you for the spiritual battle that is going out there, so I'm going to send you out while you're still underneath our roof so that we can correct mistakes when they come.
Wow,
so
smart mom.
Yes, I am very blessed to have her.
So she sort of warned you about a spiritual battle.
Yeah, my mom.
Did you know what that meant? I mean, was that something?
When I was 13 years old, no. No, I did not. I was not aware of the scale that comes with the real world. And not that we were really sheltered. Mom did a very good job of getting us out in the public. We played sports. We had a gym class in Canesville that we did every Wednesday that got us introduced to other homeschool families. So we were well socialized, well taught by Mom because she was a teacher in Baltimore City. And that's part of the reason why she decided to homeschool us, because she saw how the public school system worked and was like, I can't allow my kids to be exposed to this that early.
Well, you hit on all the critiques of homeschooling, like no socialization, being sheltered. So you hit on all of those for those of you out there that are thinking about homeschooling. Yeah. So she was really well prepared to do that and very motivated. Warned you about the spiritual battle, which you didn't know as a 13-year-old. Then how did that sort of creep into your awareness?
Well, it was a very difficult adjustment going into a public high school setting. One, you have to wake up before the sun rises. I was used to waking up at
That's a shock all by itself.
9 a.m. and school was done by 12 because we worked at our own pace, And then you're telling me now that I have to wake up, at 6, be at school by 7, and then I'm in school from 7 basically until 2:30. I was like, hold up.
That is a long haul compared to homeschooling. Wow.
So I made good friends there. I learned a lot about myself, but it was a lot different than the homeschool scene. I wasn't the best student in my class anymore. I was competing against 180 something kids, and trying to prove that that homeschooling is a viable option and that it can be done and those kids can be successful. So I think I did have that chip on my shoulder all throughout high school. That kind of pushed me and motivated me to get through those 4 years. but like I loved it. At the end of the day, I look back and like I really enjoyed the sports that I played. I really enjoyed the friends that I got to meet, that I still hang out with time to time here. Not that it's a lot of friends. You might make one or two good ones. And you cherish those.
So high school. Now the challenges were they more spiritual? I mean, did you then see what your mom was talking about?
Yeah, there were, I would say, plenty of temptations with trying to figure out, just going into your teenage years. How do you talk to girls that aren't your sisters? How do you navigate healthy friendships? What does that look like? Because a lot of kids heard that you were homeschooling and be like, try to get you to do things, see what boundaries they could push, and you would have to stand your ground.
Yeah.
And I wish I could say I was more successful than that. And I think I was, but I don't know.
It's hard. It's really hard.
There's a lot of peer pressure when you're 14 years old and you're trying to make friends, and they all know each other from middle school, elementary school days, and you're you're very much the new kid on the block. No one knows your family. No one knows you. So it was a difficult journey trying to fit into that crowd. So
do you remember as a high school kid doing anything in terms of any spiritual disciplines that helped you? Did you carry some of those forward from what your mom taught you and what you learned in Catholic school and all of that?
Right. So my family and extended family did the rosaries on Friday nights from like as early as I can remember, like maybe 5 years old, up until around the time I reached high school. So like my grandparents would be there, my aunts and uncles and cousins would be there, and we would say it as a family. And then I was lucky enough, my mom eventually became the youth group leader at St. Bartholomew's. So we did some retreats up to Mount St. Mary's, Mount 2000, and I learned some really valuable tips and tricks at those retreats that I could use, like Lectio Divina, specific prayers to saints like St. Joseph and St. Elizabeth Ann Seton up there. So I was able to find ways to help kind of mentor myself. And also in high school, we had a thing called Fellowship of Christian Athletes, FCA, which I really...
at the school?
They had it at the school.
Wow.
So they did, and FCA does a fantastic job of being able to gather up Christian young adults to really talk about that in a public high school setting when, it's not really... it's kind of a taboo subject. So it was really, really wonderful to have that experience all 4 years. And first, just as like somebody who would go to the meetings in the mornings, and then somebody who eventually led, they call them huddles when you would meet. So somebody that I eventually became a huddle leader for North Carroll. That's where I graduated from. So.
Okay, good. So, you had some structures in place. I guess I'm just sort of thinking about this. You had some really nice structures in place to sort of guide you along and keep you sort of strong, really.
Yes.
And that's really what our faith requires all of us, no matter how old we are, is to have some sort of discipline or structure. When do you feel like your faith became really important to you on a personal level? Like you really, really owned it? Was it during your growing up years in high school, or was it later?
I would say later. Like I knew it was important to me in high school. I just didn't know fully why at that time. It was mostly because, I wanted my mom to be right. So I was like trying to prove, not just my mom, but my mom and dad, like they did this for a reason. So I wanted to be like, this is the fruit of their labor.
Yeah.
But it didn't really strengthen and deepen until I got into college.
Yeah. A lot of people say when they get to college, they fall apart in terms of their faith. But it sounds like yours might have been the opposite.
Yes and no.
mean,
Like
maybe-
it's always the different levels of like temptations and different struggles that you face in college. But it was strengthened because I was very blessed to be able to go to Mount St. Mary's University, so a private Catholic college, and like I knew I wanted to be there. Like that was my number one choice of school. I looked at like maybe 2 or 3 other schools, and I was like, yeah, they're not really for me though. Like I wanted Mount St. Mary's. But, private education for college is quite expensive. And when you have 9
Sure.
siblings, my family
Ooh.
was struggling to try to figure out how to make it work.
Yeah.
So I ended up saying a novena to St. Rita because we were thinking that I wasn't going to be able to make it to Mount St. Mary's. Based on like the financial aid that we got and all the scholarships that I got, we're like, there's no way that we can afford this for 4 years. So at the end of that novena, I get a call from the dean of students, and he was like, "We can't offer you any money, but we ran what it would cost you to commute to Mount St. Mary's because you live within about an hour. Like here's what it costs to commute for a year or two compared to stay on campus." And we were able to make that happen. So I commuted my first 2 years to Mount St. Mary's. And then I was able to stay on campus my junior and senior year.
Wow, that's quite a wonderful story. I mean, a novena, for people that may not know, can you just define it? What is a novena? A lot of people know, but...
So a novena is a specific prayer that you pray to either a saint or to Mary or to Jesus for a set number of days. I think this novena was 9 days.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's kind of like the standard. And they say at the end of the 9 days, your prayer is answered, however way that may be, And I was just very fortunate that my novena ended in the way that I was actually praying for.
Wow. Wow. That's a wonderful thing. So then college for you was directed towards your career, which I'm assuming was teaching.
Well,
yes?
Yes and no.
Okay.
So, at Mount St. Mary's, I studied sport management. That is what my degree is in. And so I thought I was going into like front office job, and that's what I really wanted, working with, one of the big teams like the Ravens or the Orioles or somewhere in Philly, because Mount St. Mary's has a lot of great connections and, it's close enough to Washington, D.C., Baltimore, Philadelphia. People went to Pittsburgh too. So like they had connections at all these fantastic teams, fantastic situations. And that's kind of not
That's where you really wanted to go.
That's where I wanted to go, but that's not what it panned out to be. So at the end of my time at Mount St. Mary's, I ended up traveling the United States for a little bit of time. I was working with a baseball company that was putting on clinics for 5 to 13-year-olds, teaching them the basics of softball and baseball, and I really enjoyed that. For the most part, I enjoyed the locations and
but
seeing all the different
there were some things you didn't like.
There was some things I did not like. It was very hard when you're doing so much traveling. Like we were going all through the East Coast, and we traveled all the way out through Texas and Kansas. So when you're out there, I hadn't been to Mass, I would say about maybe 3, almost 4 months. So I was without the Eucharist, without Mass, because we were just constantly traveling to the next location. So it was difficult because it was like during Holy Week, I missed Easter, and then I missed a lot of big celebrations of our church, of our faith, and I felt distanced during that time from it.
Yeah.
So it's very easy to fall into that trap when you're constantly going and going and going and going, and you don't stop to make that time. I didn't prioritize it because my job unfortunately didn't allow me to.
Yeah. I mean, that is such an important lesson for all of us. We can just not prioritize something, and then there's external demands, but you sound like you missed it. And you see, looking back, and maybe during that time, that it affected you.
Yeah, I mean, there are real consequences to that's the thing that people don't want to talk about too. Like there were some, like my relationships that I had at that time really kind of shattered for me. And I felt very, very alone because I thought I had to do it on my own, that I was doing it all by myself, I wasn't talking to my parents. I wasn't talking to friends, to family. Like I was very much kind of cut myself off, not because I really wanted to, but just because, again, it wasn't a priority.
Yeah.
So
that kind of thing can happen, and it has consequences, like you say. Well, you seem to have a very strong faith.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
Do you agree? I mean, is that...
I sure hope so. I mean, I'm not the judge of that. I like to think that while it's good and solid where it's at, that it can always continue to grow. And that's the one thing that I've always strived for is like, I know even if I'm a good man, I'm not the man that I'm called to be yet. So I need to continue pushing myself until I'm there. And it can be draining,
yeah, that's a lot of pressure.
But yeah, we don't have to do it alone. You have people, like I've been very blessed with the community of this church and finding some really great people, great young families here. I've been blessed to connect with some of those old friendships that I might have discarded at one point to really hash out things and bring back the faith into those relationships, bring about some fruits to that. And it's been a good, I think, reset for me in the last probably like 4 or 5 years of my life since the point in time I left for that trip across the United States, I guess.
Now that you said was right after college?
That was right after college.
Yeah, yeah. So, you just seem so mature for being as young as you are. Of course, I get to say that because I have white hair. I have white hair now.
I'm getting there, trust me.
But, here comes the game that I sort of wanted to play.
Okay.
I thought of this thinking, wouldn't it be fun to find out and just do sort of a word association? So I would throw out a word, and you would just give me your thoughts about it.
Okay.
And so here goes the first one. I'll start sort of slow. Saints. The saints.
Community.
That is so cool. When you were talking about praying to some of the saints in the novena and all of that, I've just been discovering that over the last couple of years. And to have a community, over the years as you go through life is so critical. And I didn't know about having the saints as a community. I thought they had to always be, neighbors or people at church.
Right. I mean, it's super important to realize that they're there and that they want us to be successful. They want us with them celebrating. And that's like their kind of like main goal now in heaven is to help intercede for us and help us be there with them. And so that's been such a cool thing that I've relied upon constantly throughout my life.
Wow. Oh, that's so cool. Okay, here comes the next one. Mass.
Life.
Let's say the Eucharist.
Oh no, or use life. Oh no.
You can use it again.
No, I'll go with Jesus.
Yeah, that's something that I think you sort of insinuated before, that going without the Eucharist is going without Jesus in many ways. Although, here's the next word, Holy Spirit.
Fire.
Oh, I love that. Can you say some more about that?
So in my time at Mount St. Mary's, I was part of the campus ministry there underneath Father Brian Nolan, who is a fantastic priest. And when you walk into the office, there was, at first there was just this big banner behind the front desk of the Holy Spirit and fire around it. And it's just like ignite, and then they had a quote from, I believe it's St. Catherine. And don't remember the quote on me, but it was about how the fire of the Spirit is supposed to draw us out of our comfort zone and how it's calling us for something greater.
Out of our comfort zone. That's really important. And as you were talking about pushing yourself to grow to be more the man that you want to be, and that you think God's called you to be, it sounds like fire and calling on the Holy Spirit for help is a big part of that.
Yes.
Well, how about you bring up a couple words?
Okay.
What would be other things that if you were talking with someone one-on-one, you would want them to know? Some of these terms, another word maybe.
A fight, it is a spiritual battleground. We are soldiers. We are the church militant, we are not going to be without trials while here on this earth, and we shouldn't expect an easy life. The Lord said that it wasn't going to be easy following him, and to best prepare ourselves for that.
Wow, that's good. How about one more? I'll give it back to you.
Okay.
Peace.
Breath. When I think of peace, I think of finding that balance, knowing how loved we are by the Lord and how important we are to him. The fact that, God the Father sent his Son to die for us, and then he sends his Holy Spirit to strengthen and fortify our hearts when we feel weak, when we feel scared. That's what true peace really is.
Oh, I love it. Well, so you're a fairly new dad. How has becoming a father changed, influenced, whatever, your faith and your sense of purpose and call?
Right. I'm super thankful and super lucky because my wife, Rosalia, really is that fire that pushes me to be better. I said that on our wedding day, and I still believe it to this day, is that she's the driving force of that, and part of the fruit of that love and that driving force is now our daughter, which is so beautiful to see. So it really is something special.
Yeah. And I think we're going to be able to hear from Rosalia, right?
Yeah, super excited for her. So I'm very, very excited for her to share her story, to share her experiences, because it's funny how different our life journeys have been, and yet they've come together, and now they are on the same path to heaven.
So maybe we should ask her to tell that story?
Most definitely.
Okay. Well, thank you. I think we'll wrap it up for now. And so the next voice you hear may be Rosalia.
Yes,
and,
ma'am.
We're happy for you. And your daughter's name, Zipporah.
Zipporah.
Which is a very special name from the Old Testament, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Moses' wife.
Yeah.
So.
Thank you so much for being here. Loved your story. Love your deep soul.
Thank you so much for having me, Kathy. It was a pleasure.
And stay tuned for Rosalia's story on the